Pick a Side Nation. How you doing? I'm your host, James Finley, with the Pick a Side podcast. Well, today on this particular show, we have the one and only Mr. Craig Austin, who about a few days ago had a wonderful post on Facebook that I had an opportunity to read, and I decided, you know what, I want to bring the brother onto the lab so he can talk about that post that he put on Facebook. Not only that, but Craig is a very, very, very good friend of mine. We go back well over 30 years, and so he brought a lot into the lab to discuss about a lot of past experiences that he's had and talking about some of the things that's going on in today's climate. So sit back and relax. Always remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Sit back and relax. Mr. Craig Austin is coming up. To have you in here. So Craig and I, we go back a long way. Me and Craig, boy, we done a whole lot of stuff, boy. But you know, I'm so thankful that we still here to talk about it. From LA to the ATL, from that night at the Shark Bar. Woo, Lord. Boy, we have done it all. We have done it all. We are definitely the poster child of we have lived a charmed life, but thank God that he has settled us down and has gotten us to a place of steadiness. Because about 20 plus years ago, whoo, Lord, boy, did nobody do it like we used to do it. So man, we so glad. But I had to bring Craig into the lab because Craig has done a whole lot that a lot of people do not know. There's a whole lot more to Craig, you know, than just went back in the day when we used to go out and this and that. Craig has had his foot to the fire for a very long time. Craig came out with a post a few days ago that caught my attention to where I had to call and say, man, you got to come on the show, man, because this is pretty deep. So Facebook Nation, I want you guys to bear with me for a minute because I am going to read the post because I feel that, you know, I got to give him his due on it. So about 6 days ago, Craig came on Facebook, which he very seldom does unless he's posting a picture about his beautiful family. But he says, hey, Facebook family, I have intentionally not voiced my feelings on social media, but I realize I'm one of the very first African-American quarterbacks to play at my college institution, which was Northern Arizona University. I know people of all races, religions, backgrounds, and I understand social economic conditions of the rich and poor. Our country is divided. We can fix it. Everybody who know me understand I'm about much love, much peace, and much happiness. The contrast on this presidential ticket couldn't be any bigger. To my Caucasian friends who feel as though this is quote unquote my country, I am becoming a minority. I get that, but really we will be gaining more family who are about love, peace, and happiness because it's our country. That's just the way it is. So embrace it and stop blocking your blessing from loving people like myself. There is no excuse to support a racist. I don't care about tax breaks for the super rich because if this country is not happy, how can you be? We should also care about the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, that will protect people with pre-existing conditions because we all have them, especially ex-football players. They want to strike it down and there's no other plan in sight. Most of my family would be decimated without insurance. My parents and grandparents weren't allowed to buy property in certain areas, if at all. We never saw the real appreciation. Equity or inheritance is when passed down, causing generational wealth. I was the second person in my entire family to graduate from college. My parents didn't have running water or electricity as kids. And yes, if you work hard, you can try to catch up, but it's almost impossible to catch up to 400 years of oppression. Lastly, as you know, I was a county sheriff for 20 years. I have been in handcuffs because I was rolling through my old neighborhood visiting friends. I was targeted by law enforcement. All cops aren't bad, but you know there are a few rotten apples, and if you're probation with a racist training officer, you are forced to do things his way. If you don't, you're give me the word, Craig.
Remediated.
Remediated, are shipped to Timbuktu, somewhere are fired. Too many of us are being killed. You can arrest people without killing them, but the training and sensitivity all starts from the top. I'm trying to raise my kids to honor God with whatever endeavor they decide. Go vote, honor God, and let's be sweet and let us honor God and let's be that sweet land of liberty that we really has justice for all. Winners make commitments and losers make excuses. There are no excuses. Craig Austin, man, when I read that, brother, I was like, man, look at here, man. So let's go back, man. And as you know, in order for you to write something like that, this has to have been on your mind for a while. And something triggered inside of you to write that, man. So what was the trigger point, man, for you to write such a powerful piece like that, bro?
Well, you know, the message came from my heart. Nothing was written down, nothing was pre-scripted. Okay. We've all seen some tragic things occur. Okay. And we know that the playing field has not been leveled for a lot of years. And as I said in my comments, I am the first African American quarterback to play in Flagstaff, Arizona, at Northern
Wow.
Arizona.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
breaking
Yeah.
records and so forth and so on. And you know, I have a lot of friends from Arizona, a lot of Caucasian friends from Arizona.
Yeah.
Who, and, you know, when you're a team, you are a family. You
Right.
love your teammates, and I was witnessing hate. I was witnessing division. I was witnessing statements that was the opposite of love. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I had to make a statement that addressed where we are because
Mm-hmm.
I'm a leader. I'm a
Yeah.
leader.
Right.
And
Right.
at some point in time, you have to stand.
Yeah.
At some point in time, you have to stand.
Yeah.
So it was really important for me to send a message out to all the people who I consider family,
Yeah.
and but to keep it real,
Yeah.
keep it
Yeah.
real.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, it was so authentic, man. And you know, because I know y'all was saying to myself, I was like, I said, man, Craig, I said, Craig went deep on that, man, and some of the other homeboys, man, from the neighborhood and everything. We all was like, man, you know, Craig was on one with that, man. So Craig, man, so let's go back in time a little bit, man.
Yes,
So, South Central LA, just like me.
yes,
And so you had the opportunity to go out to Palisades High School. You was a quarterback, you know, everybody knew Craig Austin, this and that. So let's go after you left Palisades,
yes.
you was going to go over to, was it Cal State Fullerton, if I'm not mistaken?
It was Fullerton. Yes,
Okay, it was Fullerton. And
yes,
then you made the decision to go, as you mentioned earlier, to Flagstaff, Arizona, to
yes,
Northern Arizona.
yes,
The reason why I know Flagstaff so well is because every single year we would drive from LA back to Atlanta
yes,
and we had to go through Flagstaff. I think it was on
yes.
I-40 to get on our way to Atlanta. And it was where my mother first taken ill was in Williams, Arizona. But we was at the Flagstaff Community Hospital. So we spent a lot of time in Flagstaff. There was none of us.
None
So
of us.
let's talk about that experience leaving Fullerton going to Flagstaff.
It was definitely an eye opener because it was the early 80s.
Yeah.
And things have changed since then. But what is interesting is I went into the situation with the wisdom that I got from my dad. My dad told me a few things that I had to consider if I'm going to be the starting quarterback at an institution like that. Number one, because of the stereotypical viewpoints of us, he told me, you got to be twice as good as all the other quarterbacks.
Right.
That's number one. You got to be twice as good. Number two, he told me that they think you're not smart enough to be a quarterback and to be a leader of the team. So you can never make a mental error, ever, ever. And I didn't. And then he said, and then you have to have good relationships, because during that time, most people didn't want a person of color to be the face of their franchise.
Yeah.
Okay. And they just didn't want that to happen. But if you had a good relationship, then maybe you had a chance. Okay. And then when it came to training and things like that, they have training for quarterbacks nowadays. But there were no personal trainers, and there was no one there to give you any assistance in trying to reach that goal. One of the last things that I see that was so prevalent in college as well as in the NFL today was white privilege. White privilege.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
I'll give you some examples of white privilege. First of all, no one brings a quarterback in of color to develop. Okay, you have the privilege of being developed if you're a white quarterback. Okay, the black quarterback, you better come in and you better play. But if you're not playing, you're not going to be on that roster.
That's right.
That's a privilege.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
Okay? And then they can arbitrarily make decisions and excuses to get you out of there. My senior year of college, I was injured. Okay, I had a deep thigh bruise before the first game of the season. And the next quarterback went in and he played. And mind you, I've outplayed him every day in practice.
Yeah.
But do you know, once I got injured, I never got a rep again. They stopped repping me, period. They stopped letting me practice, even after I got well.
Yeah.
Because my coach had a preconceived idea of who I was because of where I was from. I was from South Central LA. And he had a preconceived idea of, this is a wild so-and-so, and he cannot be our quarterback.
Right.
And that's why I give a lot of respect to the Chargers coach, because, that guy, the quarterback, lost his job because of injury. But he's going to give him an opportunity to get his job back. He's going to allow him to practice. He's going to rep him. In my situation, I basically became an assistant coach. Yeah. Because they wouldn't allow me to practice anymore. Right. And then after about 6, 7, 8 games, they found out and realized that, guess what? This is a quality person. Maybe I shouldn't have done him that way. And then they start trying to make little plays for me to get into the end zone and things like that. Okay. Now, I mentioned the NFL. I had the pleasure of mentoring and training and being Terrell Pryor's personal coach. We became so close, I became like a godfather to him. The first 5 weeks of the NFL season of his rookie year, he was suspended for the tattoo scandal. Yeah. He wasn't allowed to practice with the team. He wasn't allowed to go go to meetings. He wasn't allowed to learn the system and plays. So I was there at Raider training camp with him every day, teaching him the plays, going through X's and O's, going through workouts that they were all videotaped, and Al Davis would watch them all.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, they took a couple $100,000 of his money for what he did in college and never gave it back.
Yep.
Okay. And I watched his career, and to me, it was horrific. It was horrific, some of the things that was occurring to a quarterback of color in these modern times. There was a guy named Matt Flynn who was at the Seahawks before Russell got there. Matt Flynn was the guy. They gave him like $10 million to be the guy. Guaranteed. Russell beat him out. He never played it down. He kept his money. Privilege. He goes to the Raiders. The Raiders says, oh, he's healthy. He can be the face of our franchise. We'll give him another $8 million. Guaranteed. Terrell beats him out. And he got that money, and he continued this pattern. I don't know if he ever threw for more than 1,000 yards, but he continued the pattern. On the other hand, Terrell, he has to deal with this situation of being a quarterback of color. A couple of things I observed. Number one, for some reason, no one backed him. They didn't back him because Al Davis is a person who brought him in. Their coach at that time was a coach from the Denver Broncos. I forget his name. Allen. We're having head-to-head contact versus the Denver Broncos. Okay? Head-to-head contact. Had concussion. During the press conference, the coach says, "I wasn't head-to-head. It was a good hit." He's trying to save his privilege of being able to go back to the Denver Broncos, so he doesn't want to say anything bad about them. Throw the quarterback under the bus. Not support him. So he makes him practice all week until Friday when Terrell says, wow, I need a shield. I need a shield because my head, I can't see. I have a headache. I don't think everybody's treated that way.
Right.
A few weeks later, he injures his knee. He goes to the trainer and gets a knee brace. And when you're the head football coach, you know everything going on with all your players.
Right.
He tells Terrell after the game, go out there and tell them that I didn't know about your injury. You didn't tell me about your injury. Okay? And he had the privilege of making those decisions to tell him to do things because he's not being held accountable because he's got privilege.
Yeah.
Okay? Here's the deal. At that point, Terrell ends up he gets cut by the Raiders a couple years after. He goes to Seattle Seahawks. Okay? They want him to change positions.
Right.
Because they have that privilege.
Yep.
That doesn't work out. He leaves there and goes to the Kansas City Chiefs. He gets the blanket from the hotel room, goes to the locker room, and makes a pallet in front of his locker. Because he stays there 24/7 trying to study the playbook, trying to understand the playbook and the reads and the progressions. Because guess what? He had to learn it. He had to learn the Raiders offense. He had to learn the Seattle Seahawks offense. And now he had to learn the Kansas City Chiefs offense. And do you know there's still people saying he's not intelligent enough to run a franchise because of his color? Okay. So he goes and he learns the entire offense. and he's playing well, and he learns the offense. And the coach told him, "You're not a backup. You're not backup. We have to let you go."
Yeah.
Because of what I said before. If you're not the guy, they're going to let you go.
Right. Right.
They let him go.
So Craig, so this is, and it's very interesting that you are breaking this down in the manner that you're breaking it down,
Yes,
because all of it kind of comes back full circle, not only, in the National Football League, but in life.
in life.
White privilege is white privilege no matter where we go. On my job, I'm quite sure on your job.
Yes.
Now, you are known as I know the story as what you're talking about. You would be known as a quarterback whisperer, because you work very well with quarterbacks and training, this and that. So Craig, when you left out of Cal State Fullerton, and when there's other things on the table, you did something that we all were shocked about. And that is, you decided to become an officer. So how did the transition from the football field, which you excelled at, regardless of the situation in your senior year? I mean, Craig was a dynamite football player. So how did the transition from becoming a football player, missing out on that ultimate dream and that ultimate goal is to be able to line up behind a center in the National Football League, how did that transition to Los Angeles County Sheriff?
That's one of the things that makes us a special people. When you have been oppressed, it makes you strong.
Yeah,
mentally.
Man. Yeah.
It makes you spiritually and mentally and cerebrally strong.
Yeah.
So that when I got to the police academy, it was a cakewalk.
Mm-hmm.
Because of my past, it was a cakewalk. And what we do as people is we use these experiences and we try to turn them around for the good.
Right.
Okay. And that's why it hurts me so much to see so much hate, because we're a loving people.
Yeah. Right.
And we try to make the best out of any and every situation, because we've all been through situations.
Yes.
So actually, they did me a favor. God works in mysterious ways, and it made me a strong individual.
Yeah. When you became a sheriff, I had the opportunity to interview another close buddy of mine, Joe Jones, and Joe Jones would work with LAPD, and was telling me some experiences that he had with LAPD, and he was telling me about experience when he was in training. And something similar to the same thing that you said right here is that, they put you up against a trainer who is a racist. Yes. And so, you're dealing, you may have heard about it, but now Craig Austin is seeing this firsthand. Everything that you heard about on the news, and this is back in the mid to late 80s. Now you're a part of the fraternity. So how is it that you were able to maintain your decorum about yourself and all the things that your wonderful parents instilled inside of you, to where you were able to keep it 100 and not go to the left like so many other cops did?
I think it's important to hang around people who are quality people.
Yeah.
I have a small circle of friends who are cops.
Mm-hmm.
Very small, for a lot of different reasons.
Right.
Because at some point in time, you witness kind of a gang mentality.
Yeah.
Okay. You see, there weren't cameras back in those days, and you see the energy. Oh, stick time. Oh, flashlight time. You know that big flashlight in the back of their pockets in the county jail?
Yep. Yep.
It's not just for making the light come on.
Right. Right.
So I had enough strength and dignity to tell people that's not good. That's not cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if I didn't care about them not accepting me, because most situations that I was in, I wasn't in a probationary situation. And when you're in a probationary situation, you're trying to get your job and trying to hold on to your job so you can feed your kids.
Right. Right.
Okay. And now you are more likely to endure things that you don't want to, as when it comes to being unprofessional,
Mm-hmm.
had excessive force, handcuffing people and leaving them in handcuffs with no explanation, no excuse. Okay. And there are a lot of people of the Caucasian persuasion, they don't even see a problem. And let me tell you this. There's not one white person who can walk in my shoes and tell me what I go through, just like I can't walk in their shoes and see some of that privilege, those big privileges
Right.
they have.
Right. Right.
Okay. So I just think I was very, very fortunate to be around good supervision most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But there were times when, I had to hold my breath and just try to go along with the program.
Right. I remember. I remember vividly a time where you and I, we were coming off of the 405 freeway. We exited off of Sepulveda by Fox Hills Mall, and we were in the Black Escalade at the time, and we were coming off that exit, and we were approaching Slauson, and the cops got behind us, and I was like, man, I said, and you was like, oh, they're gonna turn the lights on. As soon as we made that left over there by Del Taco, sure enough, man, they turned the lights on. And I'm saying to myself, man, you got to be kidding me. And because, me and Payne, man, we used to do that Slauson route with LA County sheriffs, man, where, we leave in the house and we get up to Slauson and make that left on Alviso, and we can't even get to Angeles Vista, man.
No.
To see LA County Sheriff going eastbound, we are going westbound, and they turn around, and we know exactly what the protocol was. However, that night when they pulled you over, I was like, I really want to see how this is going to go down. And sure enough, Craig was LA County Sheriff at the time. They pulled Craig over. Dude came up on my side. I just sat there, and I'm just saying to myself, oh, I can't wait to see how this is going to unfold. And Craig let the cat talk for a little bit. And Craig told him, hey, I work, here's my badge. And I work for the LA County Sheriff Department. The whole dynamic of the conversation, it changed. It changed. And I got mad. I was happy at the same time, but I got upset. And the reason why I got upset was because if you had not been an officer, both of us would have been on the sidewalk. They would have went up and down all through that Escalade at the time. And there's no telling what the possibilities could have happened, with it being at that time of night. So, you had a little bit of officer privilege. However, that does not make you exempt from anything, because you've been through the whole deal where even I'm quite sure even after you've left the police department, there may have been some times, man, after, where you've been pulled over So just briefly, man, just kind of because the time getting away from us. So briefly, man, just kind of tell us, man, what is your what's your feelings now with policemen right now? Because I feel, Craig, like they're not learning how to de-escalate problems. I see things that's going on. I'm like, man, there should be some training or something. So what's the answer for all of this stuff going on?
First of all, we did experience some privilege. And it would be nice if this country all had the privilege of having those types of stops with the personality we saw after the badge was disclosed.
Right.
That's what we want. We want to be treated fair. And during that whole conversation, you didn't say that we did anything wrong, because we did nothing wrong. There was no probable cause to pull us over. Nope. And so, but the attitude is what we want and what we have to change. And it all starts from the top. It actually starts in the judicial system, in the district attorney office, and then it goes to the brass in law enforcement. And I know Trump's trying to get rid of sensitivity training and things like that, because there are a lot of people who think they don't need it. They don't need it. But we need more people like myself and more people, prominent people, to speak up and speak out and say, hey, guess what? There is a difference in how people of color are being treated. Right. There are too many people being shot and killed. So it starts with the sensitivity training. It starts with replacing some of the brass. It starts with some of these young, aspiring, brilliant people who are going to college to be attorneys. Run for judge. Okay, give us a chance to vote and elect new people. Right. Okay, so the system. See, people think Black Lives Matter is just about the cops. It's the system. It's the whole system as a whole.
That's right. So, Craig, how old your oldest son? How old was he when you had to give him the talk about if you get pulled over by the police? Because as fathers, we've all had to give our sons the talk, the protocol, of what to do. So how old was he when you gave him the talk?
He might have been 13, 13, because things happen with other people. So I'm not going to wait until it happened with him before, we start to have some, dialogue. Right. Some of the things that I do and that I tell my kids is, first thing I do is at nighttime, I turn the light on, the dome light, so they can see inside the car. That's number one. Okay. Number two, don't try to hash anything out, because if it's a rotten apple, it's a rotten apple. And you're not going to get anywhere talking to a fool. So don't try to hash anything out. Comply, and then we'll straighten it out later. Okay. Right. We can lawyer up and straighten it out much later. So don't try to resist, even if you know you're right. Okay. And keep your hands on top of the steering wheel. If I get pulled over tonight, my gun light's going to be on. My hands are going to be just like this on top of the steering wheel. And we're going to ask permission to go and get my registration and driver's license.
Man, that's ridiculous, man. That we all got. That's crazy. It's crazy that it's the same problem. Listen, I tell Jake, hey Jake, just about a month ago, I'm like, hey man, let's just go over the, what goes down when you get pulled over.
Protocol.
Hey Pops, man, I already know, man. Everything you just said, man. Hey Pops, man. Hey, I'm gonna turn the light on inside the car so they can see everything. I'm gonna put my hands on the steering wheel. Dad, I'm not going to reach for anything I'm going to ask them, can I get it? It is absolute shame that we have to go through that. Not only do we have to go through that, ladies and gentlemen, we have to, the questions that we get asked from police officers to black individuals, especially males. And the one that I hate the most is, why are you here? Why what kind of business do you have in Manhattan Beach? Yes, I said Manhattan Beach. Manhattan Beach. What business do you have here in Culver City? Yes, I said Culver City. You know, we have to give explanations as to why we here, why we going through the city. And sometimes they ask you these questions because they want a reaction. They want you to say back to them, it ain't none of your business. Because when you answer to them that in that type of manner, then all that stuff gets stirred up. And I'm always telling Jake, there's a slogan I need you to understand. Just make it home.
Just make it home.
By any means necessary, man. I just want you to make it home. Everything else, like you said, Craig, we can deal with it later. All that stuff we can deal with it later. So, man, let's just move on to something else. So, Craig, the state of America. We already know what type of person we dealing with at 1600 Pennsylvania Street. So,
Right.
man, what do you think the pulse of the nation is? Why do you think there's so many people on CNN right here on my TV, right? Why do you think there's so many people where they're taking 8 hours in line to vote, breaking numbers in Georgia, in Texas, states that's been red all our lives? Now all of a sudden they purple. So what's your opinion on it?
I think after George Floyd, I think that all those people who felt like there's no difference, and when reality, we have all had a knee on our neck at some point in time.
Man.
Okay. And when you see all people of all races, all colors out there protesting, marching by the thousands, I'm not gonna lie, it made me cry.
Oh, yes, sir, brother. It's also, absolutely.
Because I said to myself, finally, this country is gonna become one, and we're gonna love each other.
Yep.
Okay, so just seeing the different people out there and us coming together and us being happy about it, and that is what's going to make the change, us being together.
Yeah and I totally I agree with that wholeheartedly. If you didn't shed some tears watching the news at nighttime doing all that, I'm seeing white people in Australia, Saudi Arabia, over in London, Japan, people holding up, from different cultures. They don't even speak English, talk about Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
And honestly, across the board, there was more white people marching and protesting
yes.
than what there were black people doing it.
Yes.
That's what's going to make the changes in America, is that right there. And, I've never in my life, I've already voted and did what I've had to do, but I have never in my life felt that this election here was the most important election of our lives.
Yes.
I have respected every single president that we've had, President Bush, father and son, Ronald Reagan. I identified with those men as my president. I didn't agree with some of the things that they did. However, they were respected. Okay, that's my president, and so, and I always give the perfect illustration. There was anytime football team or a basketball team, baseball team, or whoever, they won a championship, they always go to the White House. This is the first time ever where you have professional teams declining to go because they know that the man that's in office, he's a racist.
He's a racist.
And I have zero respect for Trump supporters. And the reason why I do, Craig, is because I feel like if you are supporting a racist individual, then what are you? And hey, there's people who I've had to block and this and that, but I just have a serious problem with all that. So, Craig,
Yes.
man, we get ready to come to a close, man. So I want to talk about Craig Austin, the football coach. I want to talk about Craig Austin, who can take clay and mold it into this thing that we call a quarterback. See, Craig is a whole lot of things. Craig, we can talk about football, then we can go to social justice. We can talk about it all. But what Craig is right now, Craig's assistant coach, is it offensive coordinator, Craig?
It's a quarterback's coach at Oaks Christian.
Quarterback coach over at Oaks Christian, which is a prominent high school in Westlake, California.
Come on.
Okay,
we're back.
All right, so Craig, no worries. So Craig, so tell us, so give us a little bit about you and tell everyone kind of what you do with quarterbacks.
Well, first of all, I coach for a reason. It's not just, it's bigger than football. Okay. I'm transforming these young men into champion men of character, integrity, and empathy. Okay. And with a base of God being behind them, because they don't even understand how supernatural they can be. They don't even understand that they're a one-of-a-kind masterpiece. And by the time I get done with them, they understand that I'm a champion and I can do all things. Right. So, it's not just about having an arm. You've got to be able to have football IQ. You've got to be able to understand alignment, assignment, technique, read coverages, read fronts, make decisions versus the blitz versus blocking. There are a number of things that a quarterback has to go through that are X's and O's. Okay. And that's one of the things that I'm real good at, is just communicating and transferring information about the 1, 2, 3s and ABCs about playing quarterback.
Yeah. And listen, man, Craig is one of the good ones. And I still say that one of these days, Craig is going to get blessed to be a head coach at some prominent program, because he's just made for it. He's just made for it. Well, listen, our time, Craig, unfortunately, man, is coming to an end. So, Craig, man, we know that you, like I said, you're coaching up quarterbacks, and I think that you run camps and this and that. So, what are some of the social media outlets that you have, and some websites that people may be able to reach you on if they have some kids that are interested in learning about the position of quarterback?
They can go directly through Oaks Christian, or they can go to my Facebook page. Okay, Craig Austin, can't miss me. There's a picture of me playing quarterback with my name on the back of my jersey. And by the way, all these young people who got their name on the back of their jerseys, it's not just your name, it's your family's name. You got to represent your family at all times. Yeah. Okay, and please, I got to get this in. I hate excuses. My quarterbacks, they don't make excuses. They understand my slogan that I got from my coach, Coach Taylor. Winners make commitments. Losers make excuses. And that's how it's on the field and off.
Yeah, and that's a wonderful slogan, man, that you have there, man, because, there's not enough people, and this is just not on the football field, that wants to be accountable, that wants to say, you know what, yeah, I made the mistake. You know,
Yes.
accountability matters. It
Yes.
matters in a lot of things that we do. Pick a side, nation. I hope that you have enjoyed the interview with Craig Austin. We're gonna have to bring him back because there's so much more that we could have went into. We are on a time frame that we have, but I want to thank you, brother, for coming into the lab. Man, it's always good to chop it up with you, and we'll talk about that stuff at another time, man. But hey, man, it's good to have you in here, man. So, Pick a Side Nation, as I always leave you guys with this, which is my slogan: always, and I mean always, choose God. Make him first place in your life, and he will take you places that you never dreamed of. Craig Austin, it's been my pleasure, man. We'll see you on the other side.
Much love, much happiness, much peace, Big Jim.
Likewise.
All right. Take care.
And thank you so very much for tuning in to another episode for the Pick a Side podcast with my very special guest, Mr. Craig Austin. Boy, it was good to go back down memory lane for the short time that we had. Always remember to please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Your support to the show, it means a lot to us, and we want to thank you so very much for all that you guys have been doing. Please stay tuned. We do have Brother Naji Ali coming up right after this particular podcast. You're going to love that interview as well. Thank you so very much. We'll catch you on the other side. Stay blessed.